He definitely kept them shits.
How old is he now?
He's 12. He'll be 13 next month.
Yeah, he's on his nasty boy shit right now.
Yo, definitely got that off without you knowing, yo. That's funny as fuck. Hey.
One time. Mic check. Hello. I am Big Steve here with the Castworthy podcast. I am here with the regulars, the VP of Research, and EJ, the newly reproclaimed Savage. It is Monday night, April Fools, April 1st, 2019. We are here, gentlemen. How are things?
Good.
Sad weekend. But we're here.
Sad weekend. Okay. All right. So, Castworthy, catch us on Spotify. Just search Castworthy. Catch us on the Apple Podcasts app. Also, just searching Castworthy. We're also on Instagram as Castworthy.
And Twitter.
As well as Twitter. So do us that favor, follow, comment. We try to keep you guys entertained here and on the social media front. So without further ado, Savage. Kind of sad weekend. Opened up the timeline and all we're seeing is Nipsey Hussle. He was gunned down out in California, right outside one of the businesses he opened to benefit the community. So it is definitely, was definitely a sad day for hip hop. I'm not super familiar with his music, but I do know that he had positive things on the rise.
Yeah.
How about you? What do you know?
So with Nipsey Hussle, like I can't lie, I have not followed him as much as I should. I definitely heard his project, not the last studio one, but the Victory Lap was one I liked. One of his tracks that I liked a lot was can't think of it right now on top of my head. Last time I checked, is one of the joints I like. Nice flow, definitely a lot of bars. And since he came in the game, man, just everybody that talks about him in the industry says, stand up guy, real dude. He like you mentioned, the store that he owns, Marathon. He owns a lot of the other businesses and fronts in that shopping plaza, and just gives back to the community, hires local people to do his thing. This is his block, his neighborhood, basically, that he came up in. And man, for him to go down like that at 33 years old, he's with Lauren London, the actor. They got, they have children together, I believe. I don't know if it's multiple, but I know they have at least one. Yeah, man. And a lot of people seem to be, hurt by that. It hurts me in the sense, of course, because another guy, my age, our age, around our age, murdered and senselessly. And, he was a community staple. And unfortunately, man, the big debate that's going on some folks' timelines, especially mine, is the conspiracy theory. That the government took him out because he was gonna make a documentary on Dr. Sebi. I don't know if I'm pronouncing them right, but the holistic doctor. who, went to bat against the state of New York about holistic treatment of AIDS and, all of that. And yeah, so you have that. And then there's now a video that has been released that has the killing to where you can actually see it. And I haven't watched it. I've read
Wow.
about it, but I haven't watched it. And basically, he hit him multiple times and came up on him and kicked him and then walked away. And then, there's the theory that they're saying this is a guy that he knew and that this stemmed from a conversation that they had earlier where Nipsey asked him if he had snitched or something crazy, and then he left and he came back and then this happened. So all speculation right now, not confirmed,
Yeah.
but this is the word on the street and this is what happened.
You were gonna say something, VP?
Nah, as like you guys said, I wasn't very familiar with the music or anything like that. But from what I've read about him over, the last 24 hours or so since it was announced, what happened is he seems like a stand-up dude who was trying to do right by his community. A lot of people, climb that ladder of success and then they pull it up behind them when they get up so nobody else can follow. And especially like in this day and age with social media, you see a lot of celebrities who use their social media accounts to flash what they got. I don't know if they're trying to make their fans jealous or they're showing off or maybe a little bit of both or whatever. And then here's a guy who's opening businesses in his community, hiring local people, doing things the right way, giving back, and then he's gunned down like this, which is just insane. And like EJ said, I'm seeing the conspiracy theories too. And what's amazing about it to me is that as far as the conspiracy theories are concerned, is that we're living in an age right now after everything with 2016 and the Russians and Facebook and all that shit, and people are just so easily duped, even knowing that there's people out there working to manipulate your thoughts, and that shit amazes me. I mean, I get that that's always probably gonna happen, but we're not even that far removed from 2016, and it's like here we go again.
Yeah, I hate black people for that reason. um, I don't literally hate black people, but um, I hate how we allow these things to get out of control. I hate when there's always got to be conspiracy or some type of narrative behind stuff that happens. The guy was gunned down in the street, cold blood, and you can't just celebrate, his life. You can't celebrate the legacy that he was creating, and what he left behind without trying to make it about something more, something, I mean, to me is just way out of left field. Like people are stupid enough to think that the government is sitting out there thinking, you know what? I think we need to take out this low class rapper real quick. He's starting to get big and he's thinking of exposing something that we know. Like, get the fuck out of here. Michael Moore is still alive. If nothing else, that tells me enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm watching my timeline and I see the conspiracy stuff and I'm just like, come on, man. People are just ignorant. They got nothing better to do. Like everything they see on the internet they believe in. But
Yeah.
one thing that you mentioned was the whole 2016 thing. And this is what I said to somebody earlier as well as yesterday. And people are so tied up in the racism, the MAGA, and all of that. But you know what? Those aren't the people killing us. Like they hate us, yeah, absolutely. They may be trying to hold us down. They may be, thinking and saying horrible things, but aside from the police that are racist, or we consider racist, or we pass that judgment on, they're not the ones that are gunning us down. It's us that are killing each other. So I mean, to me, it doesn't make sense that we continue as you know black people or minorities in general to kind of live this life. Like, what is it going to take for people to change?
I think to be fair to the conspiracy theorists, I I try not to take one lane or the other, because at the end of the day, his life is lost. And that's the worst part. Nothing else matters. But I think, we as a people, we have to always kind of question everything. Uh and I kind of keep quiet about all of it. But historically, right, going back to as far as Pearl Harbor, Tora, if you ever read the book or ever read the information on how the US knew the attack on Pearl Harbor was coming before it did. Conspiracy theories going as far back as the Bay of Pigs invasion, the Iran Contra war, the La Costa Nostra. I mean, the systematic targeting of the Panthers and all of those different things. And I'm not saying I believe one way or the other. It's just funny how in a society today where we have a feminist movement that is literally a group of people saying that society and the powers that be are keeping them down, and a lot of their misfortune is due to their gender. That it is far fetched, and I'm playing devil's advocate. People believe that it's far fetched to believe that that same thing can't be happening to a same group of some other people. And so I just say that with understanding that people of this community have been so traumatized, and they're so untrusting of our marvelous government, that I think the hurt of what happens makes some people initially think about that. And I think you would be foolish at the end of the day not to also realize, to your point, Steve, that we're killing each other. It's evident in my city, in Chicago, wherever. But I just to be devil's advocate, I don't want to dispel people from holding on to that, because historically they got reason to believe this government is capable of anything and everything.
And I can understand what you're saying, EJ, and there's definitely some truth to that. I think part of the problem though is that us as people, and it's not just black people, I think it's just people in general, right? It seems like things that are huge, we look at them like they just can't be a coincidence, right? So
Mm-hmm.
there has to be like some larger thing that happened in order for this to happen, right? Because how could the Japanese sail a bunch of ships over from Japan and bomb Pearl Harbor, right? Well, I mean, it was the fucking 1940s or whatever. Technology wasn't what it is now, so maybe we just didn't see them. Maybe the people we had spying over there, slept in late one day when the ships left. Who knows? Like shit happens, right? And you go on to stuff like Pearl Harbor, MLK, 9/11, on and on and on. And I think what happens is that people who spin this stuff have gotten a lot better at coming up with a narrative, right? And so you watch a video, you can go on YouTube and watch a video of these 9/11 people who can, slow down the video and they zoom and enhance and all kind of shit. And you watch that 45-minute video and leave thinking, yo, the government did that shit, right? Because it's so big, it's so large, it's so grand. Like, how could a couple of things just fall in line, right? And you could go back further than that, and you could even tie in stuff like religion, and not to get on that topic, but I'm just using that to make my larger point that people don't understand how things happen. And so that somebody says, hey, how come the sun comes up in the east and sets in the west? And some guy says, hey, well, the god Apollo, he ties that shit up to his chariot and rides it across the sky. And people are like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, but I mean, there's also the people that don't believe in coincidence. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
even talking about the Pearl Harbor situation, if you ever read the book and how so many things that typically just don't happen went wrong that day, and then even 9/11, like for the days prior to the FBI pulling agents off of flights, that was real. That was very real. And how you can fly these planes into New York City airspace, okay, where you got they're being monitored, the boxes are not shut off, the FAA knows where they're going, there's a fort, not far away, so I don't know. I guess what I'm trying to say is that I don't think one way too hard or the other. Or even if you watch Kill the Messenger, story about Gary Webb, when he uncovered the whole how the United States was, supplying these drugs and filling cities with drugs, and how the Washington Post tried to discredit him. And then, he was complaining about CIA in his driveway and all of these other things. And then he suddenly not mysteriously, but then, dies, short after, in this manner, kills himself, I believe. And so it's just, I like I said, I don't believe, I don't go one way or the other. It could be exactly what they're saying is looking like happened. A dude killed him on some bullshit, and who knows whatever else. I don't know.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to discount what you're saying, EJ. So I don't want it to be taken that way.
Not at all.
All I'm saying is that I feel like people in general just the bigness of something makes it seem like impossible. JFK, he's the president of the biggest, most powerful country on the planet, and some nobody killed him, right? Like, how could that happen? Like, Lee Harvey Oswald is a nobody. He's a reject from the military who couldn't get a job. How could he kill a president? It had to be an inside job. You know what I'm saying? Like the thing you said about 9/11 and the FAA and stuff like that. The 9/11 Commission studied this, and we later found out that they did scramble jets to go to potentially take those planes out. And the pilots say when they were interviewed that all their training, throughout the years, if there was some kind of attack from the air, we thought it was something coming from Russia. And so those guys take off from Virginia and start heading out to sea over the Atlantic Ocean instead of heading to New York or whatever, because they didn't understand that this is where the threat was coming from. They just go, oh, this is what we always train for. Boom, get in the air, start heading out to the ocean or whatever, By that point, it's too late, But because 9/11 was such a big thing, it's like, come on, how could that happen? Mistakes happen. I mean, granted, this mistake, cost 3,000 people their lives. I'm sorry that happened. But sometimes things can just be a coincidence. But again, there is big shit that's happened, which helps us to believe in conspiracy theories. You got the black folks who were experimented on in Tuskegee and stuff like that. Yep. Yeah. So Tuskegee happens. And so then we know that happened, right? So then if somebody says, well, the CIA is pumping in crack into black neighborhoods, right? Now, that hasn't been proven one way or the other. I'm not sure where I fall on that. I may be, like you said, where I don't take a position, but because we know Tuskegee happened, it's easier for us to make that leap to the CIA selling crack in the projects,
Well, that goes back to what I was saying about Gary Webb and him being one of the first journalists. I mean, before this guy came with this story, right? He's reporting from, I think, San Jose Sentinel or something like that. From a small town ass newspaper, won awards for writing shit, was heralded at the time. Took this story around. People were buying it. He went to Panama. He talked to the people. he had hardcore evidence, right? And
Uh-huh.
then all of a sudden, calls come in. Washington Post is discrediting him. People are dropping out left and right. All of this cover up. All of this stuff starts to happen, and it's
Uh-huh.
like some of the stuff. It's kind of like you're alluding to. It's kind of hard to ignore. You brought up the assassination of Kennedy. Well, let's look at the assassination, and we're going way off topic with respect to Nipsey Hussle. I think that is where it is, but I think
Way off topic.
we're lightly going somewhere else out of respect for the God, because we said what we said, but we're lightly going somewhere else. Just because. Let's look at the assassination of Martin Luther King. James Earl Ray. This guy, you mean to tell me that this guy who since 1968 said he didn't do it, broke out of a max prison in Canada, I believe, not fact checking, left Canada, somehow got to the United States, somehow as a wanted fugitive, purchased a gun, okay? And we're talking about a guy who was so dumb that when he got locked up because he robbed a store and dropped his ID at the scene of the crime. This is the person that we're supposed to believe went from Canada to this place, to that place, bought a gun, and then killed Martin Luther King for no reason. And he's denied it from the beginning. So it's like, it's things like that that's just like, I understand why people, and as crazy as it may sound, we've seen historically. I mean, if you were a Japanese American in the 1940s and somebody told you that you would be locked up in internment camps, would you believe them?
No.
You know what I'm saying? If you were somebody who back in the Detroit motor days of the 50s and 60s, if somebody told you that Flint, Michigan would not have running water, would you believe them?
Not at all.
So I again, it's and I think this is a horrible example, at some degree, because the sensitivity of what happened to this brother, that's what's most important. But I think shifting gears to the conspiracy theory thing, which is a larger topic that I think we're educated enough to talk about, that's just something that I'm kind of in the middle on.
Yeah, and I feel you. And like everything that you said, I definitely understand that. And I could, argue other things the other way. Oklahoma City in the 90s, right? Timothy McVeigh plans this whole thing out, goes and gets, the fertilizer and rents the Ryder truck and all that stuff, that he did to create this bomb to blow up that government building, Oklahoma City, right? And then how does he get caught? Dude is riding on the highway with an expired license plate, right? and so it's easy to go to that leap that he was a Manchurian candidate and somebody, it was a false flag and it was a setup, and stuff like that. And I think, like we talked about with Tuskegee, because the government has done shit, the government has done wrong, it's easier for us to believe these things, right? Like you brought up Martin Luther King. And we know that the FBI was keeping tabs on Martin Luther King, right? So now once a guy like James Earl Ray is accused of killing him, right? We already know the government's been watching this dude. J. Edgar Hoover's been sending him these nasty ass letters and all this kind of shit like that. Which is
yep.
Yeah, which is, got his phones tapped and all this kind of shit like that, right? It's not hard at all for us to get from, maybe this shit was a setup, and I just feel like, we have to be careful. I don't mean us, I feel like we're educated enough and smart enough to think critically about these things. But what ends up happening is that people hear something on, social media or, in the barbershop or whatever, and they run with that shit as if it as good as gold. I was on the phone today with my cousin and she brought up the thing about the documentary or whatever. And, oh yeah, I saw this thing And the thing that she saw was something she saw on Facebook. Somebody posted this thing, she watched it, and now she's taking that shit to the bank. You know, and like people, you have to be you have to be smarter than that or whatever. Where okay, yeah, I heard something. You know, I don't know, maybe that sounds true. Read something else. You know, don't trust a single source or whatever. You know, read multiple things and inform your own opinion or whatever. You may still come down and say, yeah, they killed them because of this AIDS documentary or whatever. Or you may read some other stuff and say, yeah, this seems like complete bullshit. Because from what I read about this man or whatever, is that he had some kind of gang affiliations with, I don't remember if it
Yeah,
was like the
he's a
Bloods or
crip.
the Crips
He's a
or something
crip.
like that. Yeah. And so to me, I'm thinking, okay, this guy is in his 30s, right? And it's not like if you're in a gang, you just can retire. You know, this shit don't work like that. You know, that a lot of them people are true diehards and they believe, you know, this shit is for life, you know? And who's to say that whatever happened between him and the person who carried this out wasn't some beef from years ago when he was active in this shit?
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
And that's kind of what they're alluding to. And I mean, unfortunately, you know, it's not a rival. Allegedly, it's somebody from around that way, potentially in the same gang.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I mean, you know, it's evident to those hood stories, man. You know, your own people that you know that are very close to your chest that can get to you. You know, they the ones to do this, and I think it's more shocking for people because this guy was so heavy, man. It's kind of like if Jay-Z went back to Brooklyn or Snoop to Long Beach. But the other thing too here is, you know, it's unfortunate, man, that this brother couldn't be more trusting of his people because I don't think he walked around with
Mm-hmm.
security or anything like that, you know, which is, that's something in itself.
Yeah, without
Yeah, that's. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Steve.
without knowing, I mean, really without knowing the true story, it makes it hard to comment at all as to what took place. But yeah, I mean, you got the gang affiliation. You know, he, like you said, he never really was known to walk around with security. It was just him and his people, whatever. It was at his spot anyway, so it was definitely somebody that knew where and how to get him. You know what I mean? Um,
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes dumb shit just happens. You know what I mean? Fucking think about the DC sniper. They were
Mhm.
clipping people and they get caught sleeping at a rest stop. Like, you know what I'm saying? So everything doesn't happen to, or it doesn't have to happen because, something bigger. It's not always, oh well, the government this or the government that. I mean, and that's what I'm getting at as far as the conspiracies, especially like the where you guys went were pretty extreme with Martin Luther King and Tuskegee and all of that. That's extreme compared to just a rapper. You know what I mean? Like just a hip hop artist who was trying to carry out a documentary about quote unquote the cure for HIV. And in addition to that, the LAPD put out a statement that said that as of today, they were supposed to be meeting with him at 4:30 p.m. local time, to discuss how to
Gang
try and
violence.
get gang violence under control,
Hmm.
out in
Mm-hmm.
California and Los Angeles. So um, it just doesn't add up. You know what I mean? I'm sure there's stuff out there. We know we have a dirty ass government and stuff like that, but for them to kill a Nipsey, like I don't think that Nipsey Hussle is on their radar. Like
I I don't I yeah I don't I wouldn't say that so much because, and I'm not like, again, we're talking about it, we're having discussion, and I think we're hitting all points because I could easily just say that was fucked up, move on, you know what I mean? But
Mm-hmm.
um it's just a matter. I'm just saying, and if you talk to somebody who lived in the 60s, Fred Hampton and them guys being in the Panthers, a brother like you, Steve, who lived in Connecticut and heard about this dude getting it in Chicago or Oakland, might have said the same thing. Like, Negro, government ain't worried about you, but who knows? When the powers that be, because I mean, the FBI, as far as I know, they don't practice the way Hoover did, back then. But I'm pretty sure at some point, Sharpton and Malcolm and Martin and Medgar Evers and all these people didn't think they would have a docket in his drawer either. You know what I'm saying? So, I get it. I just I get it. I get all of it. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
So, yeah. So, rest in peace, Nipsey Hussle. I hope that what I'm hoping is that they said there was other individuals that were part of it. That also got shot. I hope they pull through, and I hope that they're able to, assist in finding out what truly happened, and hopefully whoever the gentleman was, gets found and deals with whatever consequences come with it, whether it be, Nipsey's people that find him or, the cops that find him.
Yeah, and hopefully, whoever, his wife or whatever, continues the stuff that he was doing in the community. Because from what I read, it seems like he was doing really good things in the community, and that don't need to go away. Because that I think that stuff can only help make those type of communities better.
Yeah, he was gonna open
Indeed.
a barbershop, restaurant, and Nick Cannon is supposedly and reportedly going to continue to work on the documentary.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure someone will pick it up. If not him, he'll probably pair with Jay-Z, because from what I understand, Rock Nation had a part in the conversations that were supposed to take place today as well. So, yeah, I'm sure it's going to continue. Someone's going to pick that up, and, they will not allow his legacy to die. So, moving on. What else you guys got on the docket today? I had something I wanted to talk about, but I'm gonna save it for a little bit. EJ, you had something you wanted to discuss, right?
Well, I mean, VP brought it up really, but the Baltimore mayor, Catherine Pugh, she. So long story short, she is the third African American Democrat female mayor that Baltimore City has had consecutively. She was in the Maryland Senate at one point and decided to run our last election cycle and has been our mayor since. Basically, she got in bed with University of Maryland medical system and Kaiser, which is a local, I don't know if you guys got Kaiser down there, but Kaiser is a medical provider. She sat on Baltimore City's financial committee at one point and gave Kaiser basically $47 to $48 million. In return, they gave her money for her children's books, anywhere from $110,000. She received about $500,000 from the Maryland medical system. And now people are pretty much calling for her to resign and calling for her head. And she's recently took a medical leave of absence because she reportedly had pneumonia. And the city's pretty much fed up, man. This is the second mayor in the last 3 terms that we've had some type of financial scandal. Ironically, the mayor that was caught, Sheila Dixon, was caught stealing gift cards, basically embezzling gift cards that were for the needy. That same mayor, she ran in this past election. And the crazy part is, this city for the last 50 plus years has been a blue city. And they voted for Pugh, and a lot of people voted for Dixon. But people are calling for Pugh's head right now, more so than they were for Dixon. So yeah, VP brought it up, and that's what's going down in Baltimore. And what are you guys' thoughts?
So on this situation, I have a couple thoughts on it, a couple things that upset me about it. One is that me personally, like I'm somebody who, I actually believe in government. I'm not somebody that's like really jaded. I understand that the government does fuck up, but I do believe that the government has a role in society, and it's not just keep the people safe and then stay the hell away from everything else. I think that the government does have a larger role. And in some of our offline conversations, I talk about, some of the things that I think that the government should be involved, like healthcare, for example. Um, the thing that upsets me about this is that for people like me who make that argument that says there's a role for government to play, this type of corruption just turns people off and it makes them feel like, there's nothing that the government can get right. And the reason they can't get anything right is because politicians aren't worried about me, they're worried about themselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all they're trying to do is use their government positions to line their pockets. And here you have this mayor who is getting money from a healthcare company while at the same time she's sitting in a committee that's going to authorize nearly $50 million in spending. They spent $100,000 on her book, and then she helps reward them with nearly $50 million in some type of city contract. And also, you mentioned she got some stuff from University of Maryland or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And in a city like Baltimore, while I don't live there, I know you're more familiar with it than I, or probably Steve for that matter. But from stuff that I read about that city, these people need help. The city is hurting, and they go out and overwhelmingly vote for this person who they think has their best interests at heart, who's going to help them meet their needs, and she's essentially stealing from them. And I think that shit is so fucked up. The other point that I would like to make on this is that you can't just look at her though, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because what the mayor of Baltimore is doing, right, and getting paid from a company that has business before her government, the president of the United States does,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it used to be that companies and individuals would make a legal bribe, aka a campaign contribution, and then get the government to act in a certain
Mm-hmm.
way for them. And Trump comes in and says, fuck that. You don't got to worry about contributing to the campaign. You could just give it to me directly. Go and book a room at my hotel. Come play golf at my golf course, right? T-Mobile is trying to buy Sprint right now. And from the moment they announced that deal to buy Sprint, T-Mobile executives have been staying at the Trump International Hotel in DC. Not only do they stay there, they make it known that they're staying there. Whenever these executives are outside of their room, they're walking around in pink T-Mobile gear to let the staff know, to let the management know, we're here. And we want the people at the top, i.e., the president, to know that we're here to ensure that the Justice Department approves our purchase to buy Sprint. Now, they're not going to outright say that, but we're not fucking idiots either, right? And so the tone is set from the top. And while we know that a lot of politicians have been scumbags for a lot of years and doing shit like this, but now it's just in the open. And I don't know how the hell, we put this genie back in the bottle.
That's a lot of money. If I read it correctly, they're saying that it was $114,000 for 20,000 copies of her books in a 3-year span.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my Lord. And obviously that's money going
And
straight to
then
her
the other
pocket.
bit was $500,000 over a certain amount of time. And, this is somebody who was in the state Senate seat. She was in the state Senate and left that
Right.
to come to the city.
And this goes to show in general that I know Vari, you're pro government, but it just goes to show, man, politicians are just crooked, man. They're just scumbags. If it's not one thing, it's
Mm-hmm.
another. No matter, no matter the party, no matter the race, because she's a black woman, you know, um, and no matter the gender.
Mm-hmm.
So it just goes to show that a scumbag is going to be a scumbag at whatever level they get to, and we as the sheep, we fall just into place, and that's I think that's where we need to, as individuals, try to make a change, and try to leave it better than what it is now for those to come after us.
But it's not just that though, Stephen, and I agree with you almost wholly. But when people do take a stand, the government comes in and is like, yeah, fuck that. I'll give you an example. In South Dakota a couple years ago, maybe I think it was either in
Mhm.
2014 or 2015 or something like that. But the
Mhm.
voters in South Dakota passed sweeping um anti-corruption reforms through ballot measures, right? On campaign contributions and lobbying and all kind of stuff that we complain, not me like us, I mean like citizens complain about government officials doing, right? And this stuff didn't go as far as some people would have liked it to go, but it was a start, right? It was half a loaf, right? And you can't let
Mhm.
the perfect be the enemy of the good, right? And the politicians in South Dakota came in and said, okay, yeah, we heard the people and they want anti-corruptions, but that's like their opinion, man. You know, and they went into the legislature and undid all of that shit, right? And so, I think that we as citizens have to do our homework and try to elect people who, we think are going to do the best and get them to go in there and
But I mean,
change
Vari,
laws like
if
this
the people,
and strengthen that shit. Because
yeah,
what if, hang on a second, one second, EJ. What if Baltimore and every other city, state, principality, locality or whatever had laws that say, hey, while you're a government employee, in an elected office at least, you're the mayor, senator, governor, whatever the fuck, you can't have another job, right? You're the mayor and like that's it. That's what we pay you to do. So don't be out there writing fucking books and doing speaking tours and shit like that. Just focus on me right now, the citizen. And then once all that shit's done, if you want to go write a book and do speaking tours, hey, have at it. But while you're the mayor, you're just the mayor, and then maybe there's no book for Kaiser Permanente to buy to get her to sign off on this deal for them to get 50 million tax dollars.
but you no
Sorry
you
about it. Go ahead.
you fine, but I mean, so on the one hand, you just laid out a perfect example to pitch Steve's point. South Dakota, and correct me if I'm wrong anytime, the people decided to get rid of corruption, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the system that they entrusted to carry out their desires turned on them.
Mm-hmm.
So then where do we go to believe and have hope that the right people are going to do the right things, even when all of us as a people came together as one, wanted to do something, and they still fucked us? And in a city like this, in Baltimore, the Democrats have run this city for the last 50 plus years. People from their own community that they voted for have stolen from them, have led them astray. How do the people begin in South Dakota, in Baltimore, in Flint to restore trust in the government that keeps screwing them?
Okay, I can answer that, and I mean it's gonna sound cliche, but what we got to do is get involved, get organized, but not. We can't just also talk. Run for something, right? And a perfect example of this, even though she takes a lot of shit, is Alexandria Ocasio Cortez, or AOC as people call her. Here's somebody who was a bartender a year ago in a fucking taco shop in the Bronx, right? Or Manhattan or something like that. And she says, man, the guy who represents me in Congress has been there for 20 years. He doesn't seem to have my interests at heart. He barely comes home to the district to see people and have a town hall. He's busy at fundraisers, lining his own pockets and shit like that. You know what? I'm going to run against this guy. She runs against him and beats him. And then she not only does that, but then she makes these promises to people. Hey, I'm not going to take money from corporations. I'm not going to take money from PACs. I'm only going to take money from individuals. If you can give me $1, $10, $20, whatever, and that's it. I'm going to run my campaign. She goes out, raises money from small dollar donors. This dude outspends her 10-1. He spent over $3 million running TV commercials and stuff like that. She went out there and beat the pavement, knocked on doors, and won that election. Knocked this guy out of office. Now she gets in office, and she's still sticking to her principles, right? So here's somebody who said, I'm you, you're me. I got your interests at heart, and if you send me there, I'm going to work for you. And so far, she's only been in Congress for 2 months, but it seems like she's still sticking to that.
Yeah.
And if we can find more people like that who are willing to say, I'm fucking tired of this shit. And you know what? I'm going to run. And even if the person who runs doesn't win, right? Just by them getting in the race, it helps. Because now they can say, hey, Congressman fucking dickhead over here telling you that he wants you to have health care, and he's voted against you having health care every fucking chance he gets. He tells you that he's against corruption, but at the same time, he's taking money from, insert name of lobby, and he's voting for their interests instead of yours. He's voting for them to pollute your air and your water, et cetera, et cetera. You talked about Flint, Michigan earlier, stuff like that. And this person has to go out and defend that shit. But then we not only need that to happen, we not only need to hold the politicians accountable, but we also need to try to hold the media accountable and say, hey, I'm not going to watch your fucking TV if you're not telling me what's happening and you're not reporting, facts and what's going on the ground or whatever. You guys know me. I'm super into politics. I watch fucking political news almost every day, right? And as much political news as I consume, all these people running for president on the Democratic side, I could probably only tell you about what 3 of them want to do if they were to get elected. Because the media focuses on, hey, what does the polls say? Who's up? Who's down? How much money did they raise? How does that shit matter to me? Why does it matter? How does it matter to my life that Kamala Harris raised $12 million in the first reporting period of 2019? What the fuck what's that going to do for me? You know what I'm saying? Now, if you tell me how the fuck she's going to fix, the roads in my city or fix the electrical grid or broadband, okay, let's talk about that shit. I don't give a fuck about how much money she raised. You know what I'm saying? That's part of the problem too.
I think a large part of the problem too, though, is true education, is the people knocking on the doors. See, it's one thing when you're informed, when Steve's informed. It's another thing when I'm not informed as somebody who has not necessarily less education, but less means to really worry or spend time focused on the issue. But then I think there's also another thing, and Steve alluded to politicians being scumbags.
Mm-hmm.
I think we see often a lot of these people kind of start out wanting to do good, and then they get in the system and they get in the muck of things and they see it's business as usual.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the hardest thing is to trust and believe that a person with this much power is going to be exactly who they say they are.
Absolutely.
She's only been in there 2 months. I don't know that she's done anything for the Bronx. I don't know. I mean, the Bronx is, contrary to popular belief that people want to believe, that the gentrified story of New York they want to say. But in the past 4 or 5 months, the media has not been able to hide the violence that's going on. And the South Bronx is historically one of, if not, it's always been, if not one of the top 3 or number 1 poorest congressional districts in the country. And quite sadly, and I could be ignorant because I haven't listened to everything she said, I haven't heard her say a damn thing about how she's going to change that. So while she's doing all of the rah-rah fishing for Trump, it still remains to be seen what she's actually going to do for home. Giving her, giving her, benefit of the doubt. Like you said, it's only been 2 months, but I don't know, man. It's something that we're going to have to keep an eye on, because everybody that comes up, as a politician, Mayor Pugh is from here. Sheila Dixon was from here. Stephanie Rawlings Blake, who I think did a decent job. She didn't steal, far as we know, even though she was the city council president when Sheila Dixon was stealing. She was from here. All these people that they have elected are from here. It don't get more transparent than that. It don't get more home than that. You know what I mean? And they still find a way to screw the people.
Well, what I would say, I mean, one, as far as like what she's done and stuff like that, she's not my congresswoman, so I don't really, I follow her because when I watch the news, they talk about her a lot, but I mean, at the end of the day, she's one individual congresswoman out of 435. So it's not like she has the power to just say, I want this, boom, it's done, right? She has to propose legislation, it has to go through committees, it got to get voted on up or down, so, it's not like she can, just have what she wants or whatever, right? But regardless of that, like you said, it's only been 2 months, we'll see what happens. Like that saying goes, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely, right? And that's usually true, especially of politicians, right? But all we can do as citizens is say, I believe in what this person is telling me, and so I'm going to reward that belief with my vote, right? Now, if this person wins, I think the mistake that a lot of us make, and you could look back at Obama as a classic example of this, right? A lot of people went out there and we worked hard and we got this guy elected. And then we said, okay, Barack's in there. We're going to fucking go ahead and sit on the couch for the next 4 years, right? It's like we stop on election day, And so the point that you made about her being there for 2 months is that we got to all be from Missouri, right? And what I mean by that is that Missouri is called the show me state, right? So show me what you're doing. It's one thing to say, I'm doing this, I'm against corruption and I'm working hard for you, but you can also show me that shit, show me with actions, not with words, And so if she continues to do the things that she promised the people who rewarded her with their votes, if she continues to do those things, then I think you can say, okay, this is somebody that we can trust, but it's not just her. Any person in elected office, whether they're on your city council or in your U.S. Congress or whatever, or the president of the United States or whatever, we gotta hold them accountable, and we can't just say, well, it's November, I voted, shit's done, move on, see you in 2 years, or 4 years, That's another problem, is that people don't fucking vote, right? People act like the presidential election is the only one on the calendar or whatever, There's shit happening. There's people running your fucking school board and your city and your water management. Like we keep talking about Flint, again. There's people who are in charge of this shit who are in elected office. And even the ones who are in charge of this shit who aren't elected officials, they are appointed by elected officials, right? And so that's why it's important to get out there and support the people that believe in the shit that you believe in, who you believe are going to do the things that you think should be done. And that way that person can appoint people to do these things that you think should be done. When you always tell people, whenever I talk politics with them, is that, not to rehash 2016, but just, I just want to make a quick point about it. People talked about, oh, Hillary, she's this, I don't like her, she's unrelatable, whatever, right? I didn't vote for Hillary Clinton. I vote for policies. So Hillary Clinton supports policies that I support. She supports those policies more than Trump, so I gave her my vote, right? Because when you elect a president, you don't just elect him, right? The person that you elect is coming to D.C. and they're bringing about 4,000 people with them, people that they're going to appoint to commissions and to run government agencies and things like that. And these are the people who are going to be in charge of shit that impacts your daily life. So you got to get over that. Oh, yeah, she sounds robotical. Oh, this person sounds rehearsed.
But
Oh, this person
again,
got a speeding ticket. I can't fuck with him.
again, though, that goes back to Steve's point. You have to trust, and I think you're kind of alluding to the lesser of two evils. And I think what we got to realize is that people just really don't trust these people,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what it boils down to. You are literally trusting a person to say that they're gonna do what they got to do, and they're impacting your life. And I get it. Take the lesser of two evils. I get it in that instance, but I mean, it's a tough thing to do.
It is, and I'm sorry to go long, Steve. Let me make one more point. You know, the lesser of two evils. I don't know if I'm exactly saying that, but I could definitely see that in my argument. So that point is fair. But you know, people have to understand that, you know, when you look at these things, you get a binary choice. It's either this person or that person. That's it, right? And one person wants to do one set of things, and another person wants to do another set of things, right? And that's why it's important to do your homework. You know, back to Flint again. Rick Snyder went out there and told people, "Trust me, I'm a nerd. Vote for a nerd. You know, I'm a business guy. I'm gonna run the state like a business. It's gonna be fucking awesome, right?" Boom. They put him in there. This guy comes in. They pass a law in Michigan, an emergency manager law, which allows the state to appoint people to oversee the city, right? So you voted for the mayor, you voted for your city council. The governor comes in and says, "Yes, I'm appointing an emergency manager." Yeah, you have a mayor. You're even paying that mayor a salary, but that mayor has no power now. My city manager is the one running shit, right? He does that in Flint and other places. And the city manager in Flint says, "Hey, I'm going to go ahead and take the city off of the Detroit River water because we got to pay for that. That's costing a shitload of money. And we're going to put them on this river water, right?" There's nothing wrong with that, but you have to treat river water because it has fucking salt in it. And then the salt starts corroding the pipes, and then all that lead gets in the water, and then you fast forward to children with fucking lifelong brain diseases because they have fucking lead in their system. All of that shit happened in Flint because of a political decision that was made at the ballot box in November, right? And so it's not, you know, I get it that people want folks to be likable and they want, you know, their leaders to be relatable and somebody I like to have a beer with. Fuck that. I want somebody who's fucking competent, you know, somebody who is smart enough to think things through and get shit done or whatever. I don't give a fuck if the person who's in charge likes to watch baseball. You know what I'm saying? Like that shit is stupid to me, you know?
Well, George Bush liked watching baseball. So
Sure did.
Exactly.
George Bush looks like the man right about now.
yeah, in comparison.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah,
I would vote for him today.
In a heartbeat.
Now that you guys have gotten every single bit of political, I guess that was pinned up inside you guys for the last 5 episodes. So, can't wait. Give me the stage. Oh, God, I wish you would just let me talk about politics. Oh, jeez. Shit. So speaking of politics, kind of moving on and past it. What was the guy's name from Connecticut that came out and said, I don't know if you guys have been watching the tournament, but I know you guys know that Duke got eliminated.
Yes.
And it was said by I forget the guy's name from Connecticut that
Chris Murphy,
that college students or college athletes rather should be paid. And watching, you know, I know this recent news shows that the viewership for the tournament this year has been one of the highest, if not the highest. Obviously that brings money to the schools, etc. What do you guys take on that specifically?
I think that college athletes should be paid. And I mean, when you look at college athletics, I mean, this is they don't like to call it a business, but it's a business. College athletics brings in billions and billions of dollars a year on the backs of these kids who aren't getting paid. These people are using these college athletes to as recruiting tools, and not even just for sports. Hey, come to our school. We're going to be in a tournament. You're going to be telling your kids about this in your 40s. And they're selling jerseys with these kids' names on them. They're using their appearances in video games and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Their likeness. And these guys don't see a penny of it, right? And then their argument is, well, they're getting an education, Yeah, but they're getting an education, and the dude who runs the NCAA gets paid $5 million a year.
Mm-hmm.
And the university president is making, $5-10 million a year. And the athletic director and the coaches and stuff, this shit is insane. The players ought to get paid. I think that, I don't know what the pay should be. And what I find funny about this, before I make that point, is that people who argue on the other side of this that they shouldn't be paid say, how can we even come up with a system? You guys run fucking universities. Put somebody on that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like you literally have economics professors who sit around and work on figuring shit out. Get on it. But I think that they should be paid a base amount across the board, and then it should have some type of cost of living adjustment based upon where the university or college is located. Because obviously, a college in New York or, a Miami or an LA is going to have a higher, cost of living or whatever than a school that's in, Lafayette, Louisiana or something like that, But I think that these guys ought to be paid. They've made a lot of people a lot of money, and they don't get shit. And the biggest thing of that is you see a guy like Zion Williams, biggest star in college athletics right now, or at least in college basketball, blows out his fucking Nikes. This guy's career could have been over, and he would have only been able to get some fucking insurance policy, that he had that pays out if he gets hurt or whatever. And that's it. And he walks away from Duke with that insurance policy and a possible degree in fucking underwater basket weaving or some bullshit like that.
Yeah, sort of like Mackenzie Milton, the quarterback for UCF.
Yeah.
Kind of brought them, undefeated season, was having a really good season, and then blew everything out in his knee. Every possible ligament got blown out.
Mm-hmm.
And some thought, he obviously had a really good chance at, getting into the draft and getting into the league. And now may not, he may not even be able to play again.
Mm-hmm.
And if he does, with that type of injury, the type of quarterback he was, there's going to be a severe decline. I don't know if I support them getting athletes, college athletes getting paid per se, like a salary or anything like that. I said that they should that all college athletes should get a full ride, 100%. If you're there and you're on the team, A team, you're getting a full ride, including room and board, including meal plans, and I think, and they should have full insurance. So a lot of times these college students, and Laurie, from when, we were working, well, from, the company that you work for, that I used to work for, that a lot of times people call in because they still need to carry their kids on their insurance, and they have to show proof to these, to these institutions, that their college level or college age kids have insurance. Whether they are or are not athletes, you know what I mean? And what if, I'm sure the schools take care, but what if, someone gets blown out like Milton did, you know what I mean? Or what if Zion did get blown out? Clearly he had, it came out that he had an insurance plan, that if he dropped below a certain level in the draft, he got, something like $8 million or something like that, maybe more than that. But um, what if the school or the insurance plan doesn't cover it? What if you have to, they cover the surgery, but then everything after that, you got to cover on your parents' plan, and then you age out, and then you're on your own. So
Mm-hmm.
I do feel like they should have, um, I do feel like they should get free room and board. I feel like they should get insurance. I feel like they should get a meal plan, and I feel like if they get an injury of some sort, that anything that comes from that injury should be covered going forward, similar to, military benefits. What do you think, EJ?
A lot of the scholarship athletes have that typically written in their agreements, especially nowadays versus the days when I was playing. When I was playing, it kind of went along without saying. It was kind of like an unwritten rule. Like if you got hurt, the team, any sports related injury, and I'm sure it was in the black and white. I just wasn't educated enough at the time to look at it, and fortunate enough not really to need it as bad. But any sports related injury, they'll give you they'll get you the medical attention, and you virtually have access to, even if you're a walk on, you virtually have access to the team's trainers, and they rehab you and everything like that. But as a person who played a little bit, wasn't didn't do a whole lot, I mean, I was talented, small school, but I got hurt, you know. And like Vari said, it was a business, man. And fortunately for me, the guys, and this is the myth that pisses me off, that people just think kids come in and we all think we're going to the league. Bullshit. No, we don't. If you go to a top 1A school where your chances just because of your school is so much more elevated, then yeah. And then I would say maybe today kids have a better hope than we did back then, because more smaller schools with internet and media getting more exposure.
Mm-hmm.
But when you come in, man, I was fortunate enough to have teammates to tell me, yo, this is a business, dude. You're literally giving these guys a service, and they're literally giving you something back. And the thing is about it, the hard part is how do you then base how much people get? So I think, across the board, you got Division 1A, you got 1AA, pending the sport. So football, you got 1A, 1AA, which is FCS, BCS difference, all that nonsense that they just made up because of ESPN and AP Associated Polls. Nonsense. It's still 1A, still 1AA. Then you got D2, then you got D3. Do you then pay the D2 guys? Do you then pay the D3 guys? And the 1A guys, 1AA guys and girls that generate the money? Which sports do you then give the most? Football and basketball are by and large the biggest cash cows. They're the most
Mm-hmm.
demanding. Versus a volleyball, versus equestrian, whatever. So
Mm-hmm.
how do you then equally give that out? There's going to be people that are pissed off and they're mad that they're not going to get the same amount. I'm all for paying them something, one way or the other, like you, VP, figure it out. I don't think people really realize how demanding these sports are.
Yes.
Basketball, you have all of these games starting from when school isn't even in session. You're always traveling. Um, a large part of the team isn't going to make it pro. So you have to be educated. You have to really have a real major. You have to, unless somebody's not telling you the truth, which largely does not happen anymore. You have to be able to balance this life. You're on the road. You got 4 a.m., 5 a.m. workouts. Football, same thing. I remember having 5 a.m. workouts and having 8 o'clock classes right behind it. And the difference is, right, versus me and the guy who's on a biology scholarship who's getting a stipend. He's not restricted to them working at TJ Maxx. Whereas if I'm a full scholarship athlete, they're restricting me from getting my paper on the side.
Yep.
They're telling me this is the only thing I can do all year round. And then let's face it, let's be real, man. They give you in some instances you might have a little spending depending on how your financial aid balanced out, and you might have got a refund check, or they use different grants to give you your money and it wasn't a full out scholarship. You might have a little something. Let's not forget there's that quiet little element in the room, the boosters that we saw out Ohio State that took them down so many times, and the nonsense that they had going on. So you might have under table things that might get you off, but you're a college athlete. You come there with nothing. A large part of your wardrobe is what the team gives you to wear. You eat when you can because you're on the meal plan, which, people are saying it's not a big deal, but, guys like Shabazz Napier at one point, I think it was, saying he couldn't eat because he was training. He was doing this, doing that. Neither here nor there. The point is, they are the only people that are being asked to do the same things other students are being asked to do, but they can't work. They can't go home when they want as often. And they're making the university double and triple what that same biology major is getting. And while that person is getting money and they're able to work and do whatever they want, the athlete is not able to do any of that. And when you have the head coaches who are supposed to be educators to a degree, they're supposed to be leaders of men and women, they're making more than most people in the state. University of Maryland years ago, and probably still true today, the highest paid person in the state system of University of Maryland was the coach at College Park for losing football team at one point, And when you take that element, you look at how much Saban's getting paid, how much all these other people getting paid, you cut that in half. You got enough just to break down within your team. Not the entire sport, not the entire school. We're just talking about cut that salary in half. You can pay your team something, So it's definitely a no-brainer that these kids should be getting something, man. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I mean, and like we said, figure it out, whatever, because I definitely get that there's some validity to that argument about, what do you give, the soccer player or volleyball or whatever the case or whatever. But, they got people who are smart and well versed in this kind of shit who can figure it out, So I don't think that there's necessarily a problem there. And the schools like to fall back on that whole, they're student athletes, they're students first. But anybody who knows anything about college sports knows that's complete bullshit. You're an athlete that just happens to go to school, right? Because like you said, you got to get up, you got to work out, try to go to class, go to your meetings, work out again, go to practice, you study film, go on the road, all this kind of shit like that. You know what I mean? When's their time to be a student? And not just that, once school is over, then you got to keep doing that shit in the off season because you got to make sure you're staying in shape and you're good to go for next season, because you can't check in overweight and all this stuff like that, because if you're on a scholarship, you could lose that motherfucker, And one other point that EJ made, I definitely agree with you 100% about the athletes who think they're going to go to the league. I think a lot of that is in the D1 schools, maybe a little bit in those lower level schools, since now with social media and how you see other guys coming out of not so big programs making it to the league. And so some of these guys do think, hey, they're giving me a scholarship, I'm going to come here, do what I got to do, and try to, get a career. My brother did that. When my brother left high school, he got a partial scholarship to a small D2 school to play football, offensive lineman. He did that shit 4 years, boom, got his degree. His freshman year, he got redshirted. And so the school came to him, his athletic director, and they would say, hey, you got another year eligibility. We want you to come back. My brother told him, I only can come back if you guys are going to let me use my scholarship to start my master's. They worked it out. He came back, started his master's on his partial scholarship. Football season ends. He got a job as the equipment manager on the girls basketball team. And he did that, and the coach really liked him. He said, "Hey man, we really like you. We want you to do the job. We don't have money in the budget to give you a salary, but what we can do is we can give you a dorm room. No roommate, you have your own room all to yourself." My brother said, "Okay, cool." So he got room and board on the house or whatever. But he didn't get a salary from that gig, and then his school ends up winning the conference. This motherfucker got a championship ring out of that shit because he's on the team.
Yeah, and that was back then. And so guys and girls are much more knowledgeable now. But here's the other thing I wanted to touch on that I forgot about. When you look at also the sports, right? And I'm going to touch into something different. The two biggest sports dominated by black athletes, calling a spade, basketball and football, are the only two in which you cannot go straight from high school to the pros anymore. You cannot be duly drafted by a team and still in college. Okay, you could be drafted in by the MLB as young as whatever. Same thing in soccer. You could be a pro in soccer, go get an education from American, play on the U.S. national team. I think Josie Altidore did that. I think he went to college. I'm not sure, but he was on the U.S. national team since he was 15. Then you got baseball, soccer, tennis. You can be a pro at any time. Hockey, same thing. Not only is this issue a overall larger track and field, same thing. You could be in college, have Puma sponsorships, be on the U.S. national team, and get paid. I think we really gotta look at this joint and say this is a basketball football issue. The only two sports where these guys are generating the most amount of money. You can be a Joey McNamara at Syracuse. Have your own brand. When that game came out in 2003, his likeness was on the court. He didn't have the same success Melo did, but he was a damn good college player. He damn near won that national championship for them. You see what I'm saying? But where is he now? I don't know that he's not doing well, but I'd be hard pressed to think that he got what Melo got from playing basketball. And you got these two sports where a guy like Zion Williamson can't go straight to the league when he clearly can, and there's been guys that have done it. Kobe, KG, you name them, did it. But we have this restriction on these two sports, and these are the guys that are benefiting the least from it. So while I think this is an NCAA issue at large, other guys in other sports can't really cry as much as the football player and the basketball player because, hey, while I remember Robin Ventura, when he was playing, was drafted, picked up. David Wright, same thing. That, hey, I can leave school at any time and I'm going to go play for the Cubs. I'm going to go play for the Mets. I'm good. Basketball and football, like within that year's time, if something happens, like Steve said, like this quarterback from UCF, something happens, you're done. You're done, so.
Yep.
So while I think it is a large NCAA issue, I think we're really talking about two major sports. And, to be fair across the board, yeah, we should probably pay anybody and everybody we can. But I definitely think, these two sports have to be figured out before anything and anyone else.
I mean, yeah, definitely, no doubt on that. I mean, while the pressures of a golf athlete in college is not the same as basketball and football, they're not putting their body on the line. They probably got more time to study and stuff like that. I mean, they're still an athlete in school, and I think they should get something. Maybe let's just say for shits and giggles, the salary is $20,000. yeah, I don't think the golf student should be making the same 20 grand that the football player is making, but they should get something, or even it might not even need to be as high as 20 grand, but I think that they should be paid because you have stories.
But even looking at that sport you talking about, motherfuckers ain't even going to college.
Yeah.
Honestly, Tiger Woods been a prodigy
Since he
when?
was like 13, 14 years old.
Exactly.
Yeah. But also part of the problem as well is that you have these compliance issues in the NCAA where they say, not only are we not going to pay the kids, nobody can do anything for them if you're not their parent, right? And I remember when I watched I want to say it was the 30 for 30 that they did on the Fab Five. And I think it was either Jalen Rose or Chris Webber. I don't remember which one it was. But they were saying, they go to Michigan for school, and they're not from there. Now it's fucking wintertime, and they get real fucking winters, And the dude, he's like, I need a fucking coat. And the coach is like, I can't help you. Even though this coach is making, at that time, it was a couple $100,000. Coaches who weren't making in the millions back then or whatever, or maybe they were close to it, but nothing like today. And they can't get this kid a coat because it's against the rules, and it could invalidate their whole season and seasons beyond that or whatever. And allowing these kids to draw some type of salary from the billions and billions of dollars that they bring in to the university school systems and the NCAA as a whole, I think is just a small thing to ask. It's not like we're saying they need to have contracts like they're fucking LeBron or some shit. I'm not saying pay them millions of dollars, but damn, can a kid have enough money to say, man, I need a new pair of sneakers, or it's fucking cold, I need to get some long johns or a thermal or a fucking jacket. Man, today I feel like having a meal outside of the school. Can I have a couple dollars to go to fucking Chili's? I'm not saying that they got to be eating that fucking Ruth's Chris every night, but fuck, can I be a human being? Can I be a person? Can I live?
Yeah.
Because you already put pressure on them to where they have to work out and do all this other shit, maintain their grades. A lot of these guys talk about how they don't really even have the opportunity to pursue relationships. Yeah, I mean, I think we all think, oh, they out here, smashing everything that's moving on campus or whatever.
I don't.
Maybe if you're the star guy, yeah, maybe some other guys too. But some of these guys are like, yeah, I don't even have time to date, or even if I was dating, I can't afford to go on a fucking date.
I respect women.
Yeah, what you say, Steve?
I say I respect women too much to think that.
Nah, it's true, man. When you're on the road, they playing 30 some odd games in the regular season, and then if you're fortunate enough to make the tournament, you pretty much coming back and you don't know what's going on. Not to mention, you have to factor in, can I even mess with this person because they might have a hidden agenda. Next thing I know,
yeah,
who knows what. But yeah, and I think a lot of people are envious of these young men because they are born and they worked to have this ability to utilize their physical talents to get them somewhere while other people are doing whatever. And, you would love to believe that, these cats should be, because I remember people's argument, well, who wouldn't have the money to go buy something? Who wouldn't have the money to go eat McDonald's? Look at a dude like a Dwayne Wade. His mom completely out there. No, I'm sure he probably has some family here and there, but who got bread if you come from nothing? Who has bread to really send another kid some money that ain't theirs? You know what I mean? And
exactly.
A guy, you can name him. You know what I'm saying? And we have all of the data. We have all of the research. We know where these guys come from. We know their backgrounds. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's why I look at a guy like LeVar Ball. As crazy as you want to say he is, man, this dude has 3 sons. He's putting them in position. He's already got one that's a first round draft pick. Lonzo Ball don't have to play another game in his life. He's already made it. You know what I mean? You do what you do right with your money, you good. The other two, while the middle one we don't know where he's really going to end up. You can't really say you didn't have a chance, and the third one's looking like another guy that might make it. But how many of these kids that are in school have the LeVar Ball as a father? They don't, so like you said, cats don't have no bread to be running around, going to the movies and doing different things. You really miss a large part of your college experience. My first 2 years of playing ball, I had no idea that we even had an SGA. I didn't even know what it was. And it wasn't until I stopped that I realized it was a whole other side of campus, a whole nother world, a whole nother life. And studies show that when you're not immersed into the activities and the life of a campus, and you don't feel at home, and you don't have a relationship with your peers and your professors, you don't retain, you're not, the retention rate, your success rate of retention is much lower, so we wonder why these guys, if they don't make it, they drop out. We wonder why they're not being cultivated fully into the student experience, and they're losing.
Yeah.
Y'all boys is long-winded tonight. Oh man.
Yeah, we got we brought the opinionated opinions tonight.
Whoa. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Sheesh. I'll start cutting y'all off.
Yeah, get that music ready like the Grammys.
I just started to come in real quiet behind when y'all talking. Like,
Foul.
Go ahead and talk, fellas. Man, I don't know.
Well, you asked that shit.
I asked what?
You asked about that shit. So
I did. I sure did ask about that. Woof. I think everybody understands how college life is now.
To hell with you,
man. Yeah. So I don't even know where I'm at right now. I'm trying to catch up to some topics here.
Joe Biden.
Joe Biden was there, but I saw something else that I had wanted to bring up, and I completely lost wind of it. Yeah, so it sounds like they're trying to get old Joe the fuck out of here before the time comes, because they're gonna get they know that he's gonna get the support of the Obama supporters, and of course the black vote, based on his vice president. So it seems like they're trying to get him the hell out of here. And I know we decided we didn't want to go into too much detail because we've been on a Me Too movement ourselves here on the damn show. But just some backstory. Vari, give us a quick, short-winded backstory of what took place here. Cliff Notes version.
All right, I'll see what I can do. I'll see what I can do. So essentially, what happened is you've had two women who have come out and accused former Vice President Joe Biden of doing inappropriate contact with them. One woman is she's a Connecticut woman, and says in 2009 at a political fundraiser that Biden touched her inappropriately. She says, quote, "It wasn't sexual, but he did grab me by my head. He put his hand around my neck and pulled me in to rub noses with me. When he was pulling me in, I thought he was going to kiss me on the mouth." The other woman is from 2014. She was running for lieutenant governor of, I want to say it was Nevada. I know it was out west. I believe it was Nevada or New Mexico, one or the other, but I'm pretty sure Nevada. But anyway, This woman says that at a, I believe that was at a fundraiser as well, or some type of campaign event, that Joe Biden was standing behind her close, and he put his hand on her shoulders, and he was smelling her hair, and then he kissed her on the back of the head.
Yo.
Both of them have said that they're not necessarily saying it was like any type of sexual assault or anything like that, but it was inappropriate and
They
those
full of
kind of
shit.
things.
I think all Joe got to do is say that it was that they both had on MAGA hats and they poured bleach on him, and they beat him up. But he fought. He was fighting back, and maybe they'll let
Yo.
they'll let Joe off of this one.
Shots fired.
I think they're trying to. I don't know, man. I feel like they're just trying to get rid of Joe, man, to get him out of there because he's a promising guy. We don't like to take things lightly. We talked about it last time with Cardi B. We talked about it with Bill Cosby. We talked about it with R. Kelly. But you can't in one breath be like, I felt a certain kind of way, and then in the next breath be like, but I understand that it wasn't anything, sexual.
Yeah.
That's what gets me and throws me off a bit. We could go on about it, but I think that's my look at it, my take on it. And if it is something, it's going to come out even further. And when it does, I think that's when we'll have a longer, drawn out conversation. But if I'm talking about it and just looking at it at face value currently, I think there's nothing to see here. I think it's it's just it's a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah, you kind of, yeah, to your point, kind of like fire starting a little bit. Like, yeah, you touched me, but yeah, I mean, it wasn't nothing like that, But I just want to let y'all know, just in case, you know what I'm saying, I did put it out there, and you kind of want to respect everybody. Like I've already said, everybody should be heard, right? You say something to the effect like, everybody should be heard, but that doesn't mean we should believe everybody. Or what is it?
I said they deserve to be taken seriously.
Right.
Most people say women need to be believed. I say I don't go that far. I say they need to be taken seriously, and then we look into it, see what's out there, see what facts, even if they're circumstantial, and then go from there. We can't just say believe off the jump.
Yeah, and I think, like Steve has alluded to, them coming out and saying this after years that this happened, and you're just now saying something, but it didn't really do anything to you. I mean, what's the point? What's the point here?
Yeah,
it's just to get.
Yeah, it's this one's kind of tough for me, and part of the reason is, like I said, I'm really into politics, and Joe is somebody who, he's one of those people. He's a close talker. He's touchy. He's hands on, and he, from what I'm reading of what happened with these two women, it don't seem like there's much there. However, I think one thing that should be said is that there is a power dynamic there, where you have this guy who's the vice president in both instances, 2009 and 2014. He's the vice president at this time, and one of the women was a staffer for a congressman, and the other one was a state representative running, for lieutenant governor of her state. And so, because of that power dynamic, I think that people in positions of power need to be careful, and even though Joe Biden's a retail politician who likes to go out and put his hands on people and shake hands, kiss babies, and hug people, and he talks close and stuff like that, and that's part of what makes him who he is and why people like him so much, but you still have to be careful, because you can make people feel uncomfortable, and again, like I said, in these two situations, based on what I've heard so far, it seems like there's not really any there, but you can't also discount how some people feel, and from a personal experience, I'll tell you, I remember when I was a kid and I first started playing organized sports. I played basketball for POW, the Police Athletic League. And after a play that I made in the game, when they called a timeout, when we went into the huddle, the coach smacked me on the ass, which is common in sports. But I didn't know that. And I'm like, whoa. I went home and told my mom about that shit, you know? And my mom was like, and my mom was
Yeah,
like, yeah, that's what they do in
snitch.
sports or whatever. My mom's like, hey, that's what they do in sports, like she's like, don't worry about it or whatever. And I'm like, oh, okay. But I didn't know, so I'm thinking, yo, like this coach is too familiar, and so you can't always just dismiss somebody's feelings, while Joe Biden may have put his hands on this woman's shoulder and kissed her on the back of the head and just thought, hey, I'm just being an affectionate politician the way that I am or whatever. This woman could be thinking like, oh my god, like what is this dude doing, like what the fuck, so you just can't automatically discount that, but based on what we've heard, I'm not sure there's much there.
But I mean, if they're coming out and they're saying it didn't make me uncomfortable, they've kind of said like it didn't make me uncomfortable, right? Are they saying that
No,
or
no, no,
no?
no, no, no. They're saying it was uncomfortable. However, it wasn't anything like overtly sexual and stuff like they didn't feel like it wasn't no grabbing breasts or butts and stuff like that. But they're saying that he essentially violated their personal space.
And I guess again, the timing of it now, if you don't feel like, unless you're telling me you feel like this is a story you have to tell to feel vindicated, you felt like something was taken from you, or whatever. Because then I asked too, Biden went there to personally endorse you. Did you guys have a relationship to where he looks at you like a kid, of his, and he's done that before, or so many unanswered questions. But I'm like, why now? And I just, I don't know that maybe they did report this before and it's resurfaced, but why now? At the pinnacle, not even the pinnacle, the height of the potential height of his career, where he could potentially, as a politician, reach the highest level of American office he can ever reach. Why now?
Because he's black.
Well, I mean, I didn't like when I first heard about this. I'm gonna tell you, my immediate thought was political. I was thinking this is a hit job that somebody's trying to put out on this guy, because even though he hasn't announced yet,
Conspiracy theory.
even though he hadn't announced yet, when you look at the polling, like he's leading still, right? And that was my immediate thought, But at the same time, like I said earlier, you can't just dismiss, what these women are saying. But it's just based on everything that we know about this guy, like we talked about earlier when we were talking a little politics, or when a different conversation went political, I'll say. It's not about telling me, you got to show me, right? And Joe Biden seems to be a guy over his career. I mean, this guy's been in politics for almost 50 years. He got elected for the first time when he was like 27 years old. Or no, I'm sorry, he was 29, right? He's in his 70s now. He's been in office for nearly 50 years. And this is nothing that you've ever heard about him. So to me, it's a little bit striking that you're hearing something like this now, when it seems like there's nothing like this in his past. I mean, a lot of these people who've had stuff like this, we just heard it now, but I don't know. I don't know if we can necessarily go there with Joe Biden.
Yeah. I guess we won't see if anything else comes out because we've discussed it. So on another topic, I've been seeing a lot of stuff about like Uber Eats and DoorDash and shit like that, and stories coming out. Do you guys use those services?
No.
we know he don't. He don't trust the motherfucker.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like my food with a side of hot chew. You know.
Yeah. Well, so you got but do you get your pizza delivered?
For the most part, no. And the reason why is that yeah, I don't know if you know this, but my wife is really cheap, and she would prefer to go pick up the pizza than pay $2 to have it delivered.
Gangster.
They charge you for delivery?
Yeah.
Yeah, they charge you for delivery.
Who?
Hey, EJ, you forgot, yo. Steve, you know, when you balling, you don't really look at the receipt. So that's why you don't know stuff like that.
No. I just don't eat at pizza.
Do they charge you for
I just
delivery?
don't eat at Pizza Hut and Domino's. That's what it is. Those are probably the places that still charge for delivery. I eat real pizza.
In Florida? Nah.
Yeah, Italian spots. I
Mm.
put Varianto a spot, but he won't eat there because it's too expensive. Cheap ass.
I do use I do use Uber Eats occasionally, much less than I did before, but I have used Uber Eats.
Yeah, I think I'm done with Uber Eats. I think I'm even gonna be done with the grocery delivery stuff.
You get your grocery delivered?
Amazon.
Damn.
Yeah, damn.
Amazon Pantry and stuff like that.
Like he like what my man T-Pain say? Welcome to the good life.
It's not a
my man get his groceries delivered.
Damn. just when we don't want to go to the store with you peasants.
Like shit, man. Like, you know, like you got somebody in there brushing your teeth like Hakeem and shit.
The royal penis is clean, Your Highness.
I tell you, man, it's convenient. It's not super expensive to do it, but I start to think like, first of all, you see these stories like I was reading while you guys were on your long politic rant. There was a video of a guy that they saw him drinking out of the drink that he was supposed to be they were supposed to be delivering. And then there was another story that said the person alleges that Uber Eats driver put their nutsack in their food before they delivered it. Like, like this stuff like that. Like when I see it, I'm like, nah, I would have never had one of those people. All my people seem to, look normal when they deliver. But then I start to think like, man, you just never know. And then like with the groceries, the thing that I really that really gets me is like, sometimes we order like yogurt and shit, and like when I pop the yogurt open and get ready to make a smoothie, I'd be like, damn, what if they left the shit sitting in their car while they stopped to get gas? Or ran in to take their kid to, whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you choose your delivery time, but it's just that's the time that they deliver it. So like if your delivery time is like 11 a.m., if I'm the person that's picking it up and I got something to do at 10:30, maybe I head out at 9:45, grab up your groceries, leave everything sitting in the trunk in 95-degree Florida weather.
Yeah.
And then, then I deliver and I get there at 10:55 and you're like, oh man, this one was early. Let me tip them real nice. Little do you know, yeah, that you got spoiled milk in your bag. So I don't know, man. That's what I was thinking about. I'm concerned because we've been using both of those services here frequently, and actually like the Uber Eats and DoorDash and stuff we kind of slowed down on significantly. We haven't been really using that. But we have been doing like the Amazon Pantry or whatever that is with getting
rich.
It's like $3
from Whole Foods, no less.
$3, dog. You buy coffee?
Mm-mm.
You lying? You buy something
Mm.
to drink during the day,
Nah,
at least three times in a week.
nah, I don't drink coffee. Never have.
You're a
But
goddamn
you know
lie.
what
Well, you buy something, soda. You buy whiskey. That I know for sure. You
yeah,
buy.
I ain't drinking that shit during the day.
Yeah, but I mean, but $3 is $3. You blow $3 on, you know, on stupid stuff. You know what I mean? Three, four, five
So you
dollars
said you get
for
shit
them to.
delivered to your house for $3, like a month or a time or
Nah, like it's the delivery fee. Just like Vari said, he pays for his pizza to get delivered. I don't. You know what I mean? When he orders from these um franchise pizza places, I guess that's who charges for the pizza. But like when we do order pizza, we don't order from the franchises. We order from small spots, and they don't charge. But what I'm saying is $3, $5, whatever. You spend that on the dumbest shit somewhere
Hmm.
in a week or two. You know what I mean? In a 2 week period, if I get my groceries delivered, once in 2 weeks for $5 or whatever, that $5 I'm sure could have been spent somewhere else doing something stupid. So, for the price part, I'm not worried about that. I'm more worried about now as we see these, people are, people are crazy, man. People are nasty. Could you imagine this stuff? And I said it like I couldn't do it because I'm the type of person like if me and you put an order in and you're like, yo, you're going to McDonald's, grab me number three. I'm gonna pick out of the fries. Like I can't make it back from McDonald's. Like I can't make it from McDonald's to the house without grabbing a fry. You know what I'm
oh
saying? Like
shit.
how could I deliver? Like if I'm delivering somebody food and I smell French fries, I'm gonna have to pop it open and take it. I mean, it's as fresh as those fries are gonna be. Somebody may as well enjoy one. You know what I'm
Yo, the
saying?
more you say that,
Um,
yeah. But I don't get stuff like that from Uber Eats. I get it from like local spots that you can kind of hopefully tell whether it's been tampered with. The local spots kind of tape it down real nice. I don't get like a Chick-fil-A because I'm like you. If I was doing Uber Eats and somebody got a Chick-fil-A joint, them large waffle fries and the lemonade, yo, I'm going
Mm.
in
right,
like, yo, bro, I don't know what happened.
right. They not gonna miss a little
A little,
lemonade.
little
You know
skim
what I'm
off the
saying?
top. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sorry, bro. I dropped it.
Plus, plus Chick-fil-A lemonade is mad strong. So if I knew I was going to Chick-fil-A, I'm probably gonna bring a bottle of water with me and I just water it. Yeah, I'll fill it back up after I take my swigs real quick.
Yo, he's talking
Yeah.
about this
Doing a
shit.
public
Like,
service.
yo, this is why you thinking about it because secretly, if you was doing this, you'd be a scumbag.
Yeah, I would never do that, man. Like I couldn't do it because it would be on my
They
conscience.
was like, yo, I had 3 tacos. Nah, says here
Yeah.
too. You gotta take that up with the restaurant. I just pick it up, buddy.
Nah, it's three. There's just two shrimp in each one now. I like
Oh
shrimp.
shit!
So doing a
Oh
six
man!
degrees of Kevin Bacon on this shit.
Oh man! Here we
I actually know somebody who drives for Uber Eats.
hmm
What like the wifey does or whatever. And this dude has told her whenever he picks up food, he always
Oh
looks in it to see what it
man!
is. He just be like, "Damn, that looks good." But I just like I personally couldn't do that. So like if he's opening it, like, damn, that looks
Hell yeah!
good. I gotta imagine he's
Hell
tasted
yeah! He
something
got his
before,
own fork. He got
So,
his one fork from the crib that he uses in everybody's
Yeah,
food.
they're
You
not
know
gonna
what I
miss this
mean?
piece of cheese
Like,
right here. It's just a little piece of cheese just
yeah,
hanging off the burger.
I mean, like, oh man, he probably rearranging the whole joint. Like, oh, it was bumpy ride,
Yeah, without a doubt. Without a
bumpy ride.
doubt, yo. And if you pop somebody's stuff open, first of all, and then on top of it, you don't know how clean or dirty people's cars are neither. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mhm.
I don't know what you got. You could have fleas in your
mm-hmm.
car. Now
Yep.
and you may not have done that in my food, but you could have had it sitting on your passenger seat or on the passenger seat floor where you got fleas
Mhm.
or roach eggs and shit. And now I got now you done delivered it to my house and now I'm wondering a week later, like, why are my ankles itching? You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I don't know, yo. I'm starting to get real skeptical of it. I'm thinking like all those times that I did it, and you know, um,
Somebody was getting it in. You know something else though,
and they forget condiments
and I'm about to
always.
sound. Oh yeah, I'm about to sound rather sexist. uh,
Of
Oh,
course,
I went to McDonald's this weekend. You know, this Sunday. Typically, I cook breakfast for me and the girls, and I saw so many young women in there on a Sunday, like not looking like they doing too much, not going to church or nothing. And I was just like, damn, yo, like all y'all in here, like ain't nobody cooking nothing.
right.
And I was kind of like, I kind of felt bad at myself because I was like, normally I cook for my girls. But I'm like, damn, I kind of felt bad because I felt bad for myself. Cause I'm like, I'm sitting here paying for this bullshit. Like McDonald's, no matter how much they doctor up the lobby, no matter how much they bring you their food now, if you're in there, it's still trash, yo. Like it's genuinely nasty
yes.
breakfast food. Like I'll get a Chick-fil-A breakfast joint, you know, and I feel like that'll be good.
Oh yeah.
You know, I even think the quality of stuff just tastes different. But that shit is just genuinely trash food. And I was just looking around and it goes piggybacks off of the Uber Eats. Like, yo, motherfuckers really ain't cooking no more? Like, really?
Our
The
society has gotten
whole
so lazy, and now you done went down a rabbit hole, and they gonna hate us. They don't.
How does motherfucker talking about people getting lazy? He's got
yeah,
people delivering
basically.
his groceries.
Basically.
Cause I work, dog. Like I work. I go to work. I go to work at like 9 in the morning. I leave here like 8, and I don't get home sometimes till 9 at night. You know. But yeah. So you went in there with women ain't cooking. It just
I mean,
seems like
I was the only guy in the lobby. I mean,
it's-
in McDonald's.
it just seems like as time goes on, they find more and more ways to take the core home responsibilities away from individuals, we'll say, whether it be men or women. But like, I think about when I was younger, Saturday morning popped out, and EJ, you too, because I know, because but and I'm sure Vari yours was the same, and you can confirm or not. But Saturday morning, you wake up, you watching your cartoons, you start to hear that music, you hear some old school, the OJ's or some
Yes.
shit go on.
Yes, sir.
You knew it was cleaning
Yep.
time.
Yep. Yep.
The
Mm-hmm.
mop bucket came out, not no Swiffer. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Um, everything got taken off the counter, to dust. You know what I mean? It wasn't like dusting around the picture frame or dusting or everything came off and dusted and mop
Hmm.
bucket and windows were clean. Like that was my mom shit every Saturday. You know what I mean? And she was a professional person as well. She was a probation officer, retired after 20 years. So um
Hmm.
after going to school and raising two kids, you know what I mean? Like that's just the way she was. And it seems like society as we hear it, and we've talked about it on a past show, is just that has completely changed. You know what I mean? It just doesn't seem like it's as consistent anymore. You see so many posts about it. You see so many people talking about what happened to and the good old days. And I mean, now you got the dishwasher stops from having to wash the dishes. You got washers and dryers, but prior to, years back, women were outside washing clothes in a bucket and letting them hang on a clothesline. Like, when's the last time I seen a clothesline? You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like, it just seems like as time goes on, they're just there's ways to make us as people just more and more lazy, man. And the chores are just going
Mm-hmm.
away from everyone, men, women. You got robotic fucking vacuums, and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it's crazy, dog. It's crazy. Maid services and
Yeah.
shit. Like
Yeah.
when we were younger, like to have a maid,
You gotta be
you had to
rich.
be you had to be rich to have a maid. Like it was like,
Yeah.
oh, you got a maid and a butler and you really only seen it on TV. So like now you just got like Molly Maid, like dude across the street from me, lives across the street from me, has a maid that comes every
Mm.
Saturday. I see her little blue car pop in his driveway. She's
Mm.
cleaning his house. I'm like, we just lazy, man. We lazy.
Yeah. Yeah. It was eye opening for me, and you know, the thing that was astounding for me, I wasn't harping on the fact that it's a woman thing. It was just kind of like I felt beneath myself that I was in this place that I knew had trash food, but because I was being lazy and I didn't take the time to do what I need to do and cook, and I was in a rush, I was in there, and it just astounded me, man. Like, yeah, you're completely right, man. We just where has the values gone? Where have the values gone? Like, where I just I it just kind of baffled me, man, and I just wonder, like, what does the future have to hold? Um,
Be like the Jetsons soon, where you just pop a caplet and
yeah,
you'd be full.
yeah, and it tastes like something.
But but then on top of it, you got this food and it's convenient, right? Right. So people are like looking at convenience and shit like that, but it's the same, for that convenience. What are you paying for? You're paying your health. You're paying, the possibility of, the materials that they're
Mm-hmm.
using being
Hmm.
cancerous. You know what I mean? Like people, I don't think people think about that when they stop and they have children and shit like that, and they're pumping them full of McDonald's or whatever. Like, it's I don't know, man.
But I mean,
Yeah, and yeah. Go ahead, Lee.
no, I was just gonna say, when he was talking about, the food and how it's shit at McDonald's or any fast food place for that matter. Um, Part of that comes from what we allow them to tell us. The people
Mm-hmm.
at McDonald's, up until the point when remember that documentary the dude made, Super Size Me?
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Up and up until that point, McDonald's was telling us that eating their food was part of a healthy diet. That's complete bullshit. You go get a quarter pounder meal, that's just like 1,300 calories. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't even have to make it large. Like just the burger, a fry, and a drink, it's like 1,300 fucking calories.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you make that shit large, it's like 2,000 calories. You're supposed to have 2,000 calories in one day. You having that shit in one meal. You know, so we allowed them to tell, and not. I mean, it's not us. It's just through places like Food and Drug Administration. Going back to when I was talking about elections. Telling us that the shit is fine. You know, people's the shit like pizza's part of the food pyramid and shit. Like no, it's not. You know what I'm saying? Like it's okay to have that shit in moderation, but every day you can't do it. But we don't think of food. I was telling a friend of mine from work. I was watching I don't know if it was a documentary or it might have, or like a YouTube video, or maybe it was a documentary that was on YouTube. I don't remember. But anyway, the person was talking about the way that we eat, right? And the dude was like, you know, human beings are the only species on the planet that eat structured meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner every fucking day, right? And they were saying like how a lot of that comes from the food lobby. And they were like, people, or not people, but like every other species eats when it's hungry. A lion kills a buffalo today, they eat on that shit today, maybe a little bit tomorrow, and they don't eat again for a week. But for us,
Mm-hmm.
it's every day, 3, 4, 5 times a day. You breakfast, in between meal, snack, lunch, another snack, dinner, late night snack, dessert. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And And there's no other species on the planet that eats that way. And then because of the way we eat, you can start tying it to problems with our health, problem environment from like factory farming and shit like that. And you can just start extrapolating that shit out to see how it causes problems just to us, to our environment, to the planet, et cetera.
Yep.
Yeah,
So,
I'm with that.
I don't think there's anything else pressing for us to chit chat about today. Um,
Nah, quick update. Nipsey Hussle memorial or vigil in LA. People injured, shots fired
at the
Wow.
memorial.
at the memorial. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't
Wow.
surprise me. Doesn't surprise
Yeah.
me. I mean, you gotta, remember, it's still, no matter how good of a guy he was and he was trying to fix stuff up, he was still at some point related to, a gang. And, those gangs, eventually you're going to see, if you're all going to the same place, you're going to see somebody there that you just don't vibe with, you don't click with. And, unfortunately, people don't have respect for, um,
They're dead.
the dead, or just for their family, and the grieving people that are grieving.
Uh-huh.
And so you've heard this on plenty of occasions. um you kind of could have called that. I think if they would have put that on out in Vegas, it would have had pretty good odds,
Yeah.
unfortunately. um but yeah, I mean, I hope, like I said, I hope that they figure it out, and whatever his plan was, hope that's followed, and carried out to stop the violence there. And hopefully, whatever that plan was, if there was, something out there and something they were working on carrying through, they can implement it in other areas, like Miami, like, Bridgeport, Connecticut, like Chicago, like Detroit, like people, young black people killing each other over bullshit, man. And it's just, it's sad that that's where we are still, and it's like a circle back to the 90s, to the way it was.
Yeah.
So, yeah, without further ado, we'll go ahead and take it out. Catch us again on Spotify and the Apple Podcast app. Just search Castworthy. We can be found there. You can also find us on Instagram and Twitter, on the Twitter machine, at Castworthy. Like us, listen to us, ride with us, send us your feedback, and interact with us. We're open people. We appreciate you listening, and until next time.